Hi, I'm Courtney Murphy, Denver Metro Realtor, and today I am here with Cameron Cook. He is a mortgage broker who I often work with, great lender. Today he is going to interview me, and we are going to talk to you about, how to find a great realtor. What should you be looking for? Cameron?
Yeah, well, thank you for the introduction, Courtney. I'm glad I have the chance to do this. I've been a lender a really long time, and I've worked with a lot of different real estate agents over the years, and I've learned um, a lot about real estate agents, kind of the differences in which how they work, and some of the pros and cons, which the things that they do. And I thought that providing this interview for people might help them kind of see an inside or behind the scenes a framework for what I see as a lender, and it might help them with their selection process of real estate agents. So I'm glad we're able to do this. So I just have a few questions, kind of some talking points. One is, when someone is beginning the home buying process, what should they what kind of questions should they be asking to find a real estate agent? Where do they even find a real estate agent? I mean, you can go online, you can ask someone. What are your recommendations? What do you typically recommend people do?
Well, the first thing, just like everything else when we're looking for services, I think the best thing is to ask for referrals from. First of all, I think the best place to ask for a referral is from the lender because, like you work with lots of realtors all the time. And my question for you would be, are all realtors created equal, Cameron?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
So by
There is most certainly a large difference,
yeah,
1000%.
so you being in the position that you're in, you have a much better insight on who's going to do the best job for someone. So that's a good place to ask for a referral if you don't have someone is asking your lender. And other sources, obviously, friends, family, whatnot, of course. But I would start by talking to your lender and seeing who they suggest.
Yeah, and I think that a follow-up question that if I were a consumer, that I would ask my lender is, why are you recommending this person to me? Not just who do you recommend, but why do you recommend this person? And seeing what the answer is and making a judgment call based upon the answer. And I say that because a lot of lenders will just will refer clients to realtors that essentially give them referrals or whatever the case, like a reciprocal type business, which is fine. The problem is that what if it's not really the best circumstance for the client? What if there's a better scenario for that specific client, someone that can meet their needs better? So if you're going to ask a lender for a realtor referral, that's fine, but you should always ask the subsequent question of why are you referring this person to me?
Absolutely. That makes sense.
So good idea. So second question is, let's say that you've identified, let's say you're getting ready to buy a home, and perhaps you've identified a person, a realtor that you're considering using, or maybe you have a couple in mind. That's always possible. Sure. What kind of characteristics, what kind of value systems, what kind of things that would you recommend that people consider when they're kind of going through their selection process?
Absolutely. So the first thing is experience, asking how long they've been in the business. Um, and I'm not saying that you can't use a newer realtor, but if you do, ask who's backing them up, who's there with them through the process. But experience is really important because I gotta say, over the years, the knowledge and wisdom and experiences I know that I've been through has just, I've gotten a lot better, thank goodness. So experience is very important. Um, Within that, you want to ask what is a realtor's area of expertise, because realtors tend to focus in certain areas. For example, I do a lot of new built home sales and feel very comfortable in that area and have lots of experience there. A lot of realtors have never sold a new built home. So if you were looking in that area, for example, you will want to look for a realtor that specializes in that area. I haven't done a lot of like ranch homes, like land, lots of land. So, not saying I'd never take on a client that's looking for ranch property, but I would want to be bringing someone in alongside me who has that experience to deal with, septic tanks and wells and things that I typically don't deal with. So addressing and checking with the person that you're going to have working by your side and making sure they have the experience or are bringing someone alongside them to guide them in some of those areas is really important. Another thing is finding out how long the realtor has lived in the general area that you're shopping. You learn a lot about an area just by living there. So
Sure, absolutely.
I live in the Parker area, so I tend to do a lot of my business in Douglas County. Not that I don't know some other areas well, but I'm not going to feel comfortable working with someone where I don't know the neighborhoods well. I don't want to miss something big if I'm out shopping with someone, which could happen very easily. So find out if that realtor lives in that area, works in the area, those sorts of things. Or again, they're bringing a partner in. I have done some Colorado Springs business because sometimes people don't know if they're coming from out of state and they think maybe Castle Rock is a good fit for them, but they're like, well, but maybe North Colorado Springs. So I have a Colorado Springs partner by my side, who can step in and help with that client. So very important within that experience, kind of encapsulates a few different areas, but those are good questions to ask.
Yeah, just, understand, or, the person in my mind, at least in my opinion, should have a very thorough knowledge level of the geographical area in which the person is looking to buy. Mm-hmm. Because every community is a little bit different, right? Each community kind of has their own niches and different things that they have as far as parks, walking trails, businesses, Walmarts, whatever that person might be looking for. And if your primary business is in, let's say, the southern part of Denver, that's fine. But if the person's looking in, 20 miles north of Denver, that's a completely different community. And there's so many realtors that will be more than happy to take on that business, even though they really may not have a true expertise with those communities. And it's like, at that point, like, how much value are you really adding for the client?
Absolutely. It can
One thing that I do when I'm referring out business to a realtor is I'm asking my clients where they're looking at and why they're looking there, and I'm trying to match them up with agents that really do work those communities specifically. Mm-hmm. Because it really is a niche, and it really is important to know those things.
It is. One community sitting right next to another one can have some really weird little details that are different, but could make a big difference to a particular client.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about your network of professionals?
So that is a big deal, because over time you do build a network of important people who are going to be part of the process, whether that's inspectors or different trades even. A quick example is I had a VA deal where this house was not going to close if we couldn't get a deck painted within a day. I mean, seems like a simple thing, but getting a painter within a day may not be the easiest thing. But I had a painter who is going to, no matter what, is going to get what I need done, and we got it done. And so just little things like that, knowing the right lenders for certain situations, or having, other realtors by your side. So if I am not available for whatever reason to show a house, that I have other realtors that can step in and show a house on a day that I'm not available. Or it just is really important to have. It's not a one-man show. There's a lot that can go on during a real estate transaction. So having the right people by your side is really important.
Yeah, I tell people that when you buy a property, there's a number of moving parts that go on behind the scenes. There's a lot of them. And you really should affiliate yourself with realtors that are well connected with different trades that might be important. Stagers, you listed them. Stagers, home inspectors, different types of contractors, a handyman, the lender, insurance agent. I mean, there's so many different people that are working behind the scenes on these deals. And the real truth is that, when you go under contract on a home, you don't typically have several months to close unless you're buying a new construction property. And therefore, the time of which you have to buy that home is relatively small, well, typically 30 days or so. And if you bump into, a bad roof or a potentially damaged roof or a potential foundation issue or an electrical issue or a plumbing issue or HVAC issue, I mean, you name it, we see it. You need to hire a realtor that is really well connected with different trades to be able to help you solve all of those problems quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be done quickly. So the example of the painter is a perfect example, and I'm so glad you brought that up. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
What about one of the biggest objections I hear from people oftentimes is I find them wanting to use a real estate agent that either they're related to or I should say, for no other reason because they're related to, or for no other reason because the person that they know knows someone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which I understand that completely. But there's really no other substance to their opinion besides they just know somebody. To me, that shows an element of trust, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that backs into my opinion to ethical standards.
Mm.
So a talking point, in my opinion, would be is what kind of ethical standards should people look for when it comes to hiring a certain real estate agent? What kind of questions could they possibly ask, or different ideas that you see that might kind of separate someone from being deemed as truly ethical and really looking after the person, or as opposed to just anyone who's selling real estate?
Mm. So, obviously, I think some of those things are going to come to light once you were working with a realtor. So sometimes trying to figure those things out ahead of time can be a little bit difficult, right? Because you learn someone as you're working with them. But one of the things that I do is, it's pretty typical when you start working with a realtor to purchase a home is to sign a contract with them.
And what's the name of that contract? Is there a name for it?
Yeah, that's the right to buy listing contract.
Okay.
Yeah. And so fairly common. Don't be surprised if you engage with a realtor and ask them to help you find a home if you're asked to sign that contract. But one of the things that I do is I don't have clients sign this contract until I start writing offers for them. At that point, once I'm starting to write offers for someone, that it has to be signed for everyone's protection. But one of the reasons that I don't have any people sign that contract is I feel that I want clients to feel comfortable working with me, and I feel confident in my abilities that people will want to continue to work with me, and it's not going to be a big deal. Because one of the reasons that the realtors have people sign the contract is it's a protection. Which I understand. If I'm going to be putting work and showing houses,
a protection of what?
For the realtor, that they're going to make the commission off the house that you.
So not the protection of the client, protection of the real estate agent.
Yes, exactly. Gotcha. So and I understand that I don't want to be doing a whole bunch of work for somebody who's going to go then use another realtor at the very end. But I do feel confident that I'm going to win their client's trust. They're gonna want to work with me because I communicate well, because I'm there for them, because they're happy with the services that I'm giving them. So right out of the gate, if a realtor tells you you have to sign a contract before you start working together, that right there, you'd kind of know that'd give you a clue that they're kind of fibbing with you. So
a little bit of a red flag. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's fair that maybe after a couple of weeks or something, if that more comfortable, but at least a little bit of time, they should be able to at least prove themselves a little bit so that you're comfortable that they're the right person for you. And a lot of realtors would hate me for saying that, but
No, I completely agree. I completely agree, and that's definitely one thing that I look for as well.
yeah,
I understand if you're working with someone for, sometimes it takes people several weeks or months to find a house. That happens a lot. That there's nothing uncommon
or
about that at
over a
all.
year.
Yeah, I mean those things happen, right?
Yeah.
And I think under those types of circumstances, I think it's perfectly fair to be under contract with a buyer and to make sure that you will indeed get paid 100%. But if it's your first time out and you guys really don't know each other and you're kind of feeling each other out, I think
Yeah.
it's perfectly fair to not have a contract. And I completely agree with you. And I'm so glad that you said that. I'm just appreciate the ethical standards. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. And another thing is a lot of buyers don't understand is that sellers don't always offer realtors the same commission. Okay. So, and realtors know the commission being offered to them when they see a property in the MLS. So, let's say a buyer asks to see a property and the realtor peeks at the commission and it's not what they typically see, it's lower, and maybe they hesitate to show that property. If a realtor ever hesitates showing a property, you might definitely ask them why. Because you don't want, yes, realtors are here to this is our job, we're here to make money, but money, our own personal paycheck, should not be our top priority. Our top priority should be finding you that right home.
Sure. And so when you say that, so the seller dictates how much the buyer's real estate agent will make.
In a sense, well, they offer a certain amount now in that buyer's contract that a realtor signs with their buyer. There are options in there where if a certain amount of commission is not offered, the buyer needs to make that commission up. So there can be positions where buyers are contributing to the commission. And this also, too, when you are signing a contract with a realtor, this should all be explained to you. If a realtor is not explaining to you who is paying the commission, that's also a red flag, because there are instances where buyers can end up having to contribute to commission.
Yeah. And of course, a lot of those things don't become detected until it's too late in the process, I'm sure, right?
Yes. Yeah. That can make some very happy, unhappy clients if they're not aware upfront what their responsibilities are in the sorts of payments.
Awesome. So, Courtney, do you have anything else you'd like to add to this?
I think we've pretty much covered all the main important points here. Of course, if anyone has more questions, feel free to call me or Cameron, but yeah, I think we covered most everything.
Awesome. Well, to kind of wrap this up, I hope that people that watch this find this information useful. I can promise you guys that there is a significant difference in the talents, the ethical standards, the networks of different real estate agents, the experience levels. It really is a very large difference, and it absolutely will matter to your transaction. And I highly recommend that you take this advice and use it to your own benefit when you're selecting your own real estate agents. And I highly recommend Courtney. I've worked with Courtney before, and again, as a lender, I see some of the behind the scenes work that real estate agents do. I can see the quality of the contracts that they're writing. I can see how well connected they are with their network, with their contractors. I can see how well organized they are, how well they communicate. And quite frankly, I ask all my clients at the end of a deal what they thought of their real estate agent. That's one of the questions that I ask, because I'm also trying to connect myself with really good real estate agents out there as well. And the responses that I get are sometimes great, sometimes they're hilarious, sometimes they're awful. But every client I've ever worked with that has worked with me and Courtney, they've all said the exact same thing. And I highly endorse her talents and her experience to you guys.
Thank you. Well, and with that, I have to say that we could do a whole separate video on choosing a lender, because as you said, it's a whole different experience working with different realtors. It's a whole different experience working with different lenders too. and right back at you, Cameron. It's always been a great experience working with you.
Well, thanks for taking the time. I hope that folks out there that watch this can get something from it. If you guys ever have any questions, just reach out to me or Courtney. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
We're out. Thanks, y'all.